Hello, 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 everybody. It's your girl Ashley, the amateur expert, coming to you live on a Friday. We're going to be asking a question for one of my friends. If this is your first time joining us, we have candid conversations on Fridays about a question that you talk to your homegirls about, and you just wonder if someone has the answer. So today we'll be talking with Lori, who is a career coach, and she literally got my whole entire life together. So I'm excited for you guys to hear this story about legacy building. Let's get her added in. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Y'all doing okay out there? Okay, let's see. Awkward silence. Awful. Sorry, guys. Theriault will get better. It's Friday. All right, Lori is in the room. Hey, Lori. Perfect. Now let's get started. Okay. Aha. I can't add Lori. What is going on? Lori, do you see a notification to join us? The bottom left. Aha. There it is. Hey, Lori. How are
Hey,
you?
how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for doing the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I was just explaining that, the show is Candid Conversation. We're going to talk about, a question that, one of my friends is wondering the answer for.
Hmm.
And so I've worked with you in the past on sort of sorting out some things on how I wanted my career to go. And so, Lori, I want to know, oh, excuse me, my friend wants to know,
Uh-huh.
is it is it possible to figure out your legacy at any age?
It is. So I have worked with so many people around the country at in any age. I mean, it was really 10 years and older, I would say. So between the ages of 10 and 65,
Hmm.
I'm able to help you figure out, number one, what you're going to be when you grow up, and number two, what that legacy is going to look like for you. And sometimes the legacy doesn't really um, align to the career path that it will
Mm,
fund it,
okay.
if it makes sense. So it's really, really amazing to discover and uncover so many very cool legacies that are being created in the world right now. It's amazing. And if you can identify a legacy at a younger age, like 10 to 15 years old, it's amazing how soon you can start living your legacy.
Ooh, I love that. Love,
Hmm.
love, love that. So, um, it's funny how we got connected. So I was sort of at a crossroads in my life trying to figure out where I was, emotionally and just all of the things. And so I had gone to get Reiki done by Amina. And Mina, at the end of the session, was just like, I see a lot of prosperity for you in life. And, she's saying all these wonderful things. And I'm just like, okay, great. What does that really mean? And so, sorry, airplane is going over the house right now. Anywho, um, so at the end of the session, she goes, I was like, I've got so many things in my brain. I can't sort them out. I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to do it. And I'm just like, trying to get it all out together. And she goes, you need a Lori. And I'm like, what's a Lori? I'm like, where do I buy it? Like, sign me up. Tell me, how do I do it? Where do I do it? She connected us via text. And then I think that Sunday I came to you and we literally got my whole entire life together, which I'm still going by today, and I'm super, super excited about. So, can you walk us through sort of high level the steps that we took?
Sure. So, when you reached out to me, we were immediately able to get you to my office in front of this big whiteboard.
Yep.
So I either use flip chart paper or whiteboards. It's something that really activates people's minds, my mind, and where we collaborate together. My job is not to tell you what you're going to be when you grow up, but for
Hmm.
me to be able to ask the open-ended questions that really get your mind thinking
Right.
and rediscovering your true passion and your purpose in life. So the first step was to take a little personality strength test. And that is a test that I've been using for over 30 years, created by Dr. Hanley.
Okay.
And he created it and called it Insight Inventory. So it's a personality strength testing. I used it for 30 years while I was working strong work teams so that and goals production goals were met. Now I use it
Hold on
to,
1 second, Laura. You're breaking up. You said you used it for what? I'm sorry. You said you used it for 30 years.
yep, it's in manufacturing to help build strong work teams.
Okay.
So from there, now today, for the last 5 years, I've created a business that helps children and adults figure out what they're going to be. But we start off with the personality strength testing, and what you received, Ashlee, was 7 to 10 words that best describe you, what you were born with, your superpowers. And
Yep.
if I recall correctly, you are definitely someone who was born to make changes in the world.
I think that was
And
on the list.
yeah, and only about 10% of the students that I've ever tested in all my years have the so-called DNA to be able to do that without hurting themselves health-wise.
Right.
You need a certain kind of stamina to be able to be an entrepreneur or someone that is advocating for change. So you have it.
Well, thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you, I think. No, thank you.
So with those words,
Hmm.
they then went onto the whiteboard, and from there you can use them in your communication, your verbal communication with people to best describe yourself,
Yep.
and also for any resume updating. So those are part of your natural skills that you were born with.
I believe one of the things also was deadline driven,
Mm-hmm.
aka procrastinator. But we've changed the narrative. We've changed the narrative.
Right. There's no such thing as, a lot of people call that a weakness, and there's no such thing as weaknesses in the Work It program. It's about strengths and it's about growing what you're naturally good
Mm.
at.
Yeah.
When people are either procrastinating or they'd be fashionably late or something, I think, I have that in my DNA. But I have to tell you that I've probably met the most amazing opportunities just by being that 5 minutes late because it opened the door for something else.
Mm.
So, it's just who I am.
Right.
And as long as I'm not 2 hours late, and that to know. But to be able to give the people the right amount of time and my attention is probably the most important thing. And I think the same for you
Hmm.
because we have similar personalities. If I
Yep.
recall correctly, we do.
We do.
So it's an entrepreneurial mindset, and again, not everyone is made to be an entrepreneur. And that was the first part of our visit together. We really
Yep.
just buttoned down, who you were from a strength standpoint. The second piece of our visit that day was to actually allow you to tell me where you were at that moment. Because I really don't take a lot of time to talk about your past. It's about catapulting you to your future. So I get just enough information to be dangerous about your past. And then I say, okay, let's talk about the present for no more than 5 minutes. And then I'm going to talk about your future for the remaining 45 minutes.
Yep.
So, it's definitely, uh, it's definitely a program that you need to be ready to embrace your future because we're
Yes.
going to spend 2 hours talking about it. Um, when we talked about entrepreneurism, right? You and I are entrepreneurs. I explained to you the difference between an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. So a solopreneur is someone who will probably start a business that was already, I guess, created by other people. It could be an industry that's already well established, and
Yeah.
you're just doing a spinoff, like accountant or a landlord. That's more of a solopreneur. Whereas an entrepreneur is someone who anticipates having a lot of people working for you
Mm.
and you motivating them and being able to manage yourself and them
For
and
sure.
meet the goals and you want it to sustain even after you're gone. I guess that's the probably the biggest thing I want to drive home is an entrepreneur has intentions of seeing their business survive beyond beyond your lifetime. Whereas a solopreneur is doing it mainly for themselves and their livelihood while they're alive. And should they sell that business while they're alive, they would reinvest that money. It's not necessarily to kind of pass it along to their offspring. It's
Gotcha.
more about just making that living during their lifetime. Whereas an entrepreneur mindset is about making positive change, permanent change, radical change sometimes, and making sure that there's a team established to keep it
Yeah.
alive. So I think that's where you and I are at. We have different purposes, but we have a lot of similarities with our drive and our passion.
For sure. And someone had just asked, how would you describe the entrepreneurial mindset? But I think that you just answered that. Um,
Yeah.
so you give us a thumbs up if you think that was, if you're all set with that answer, if you need some more info. Um, so yes, and so after we got the words together, we did a 7 step,
Mm-hmm.
and
Seven.
it was I when I left your office, I was on fire. I cannot wait to get started because I was finally able to put words and action or actionable steps to the things that I wanted to create or the things that I wanted to do and or like be when I grew up. Okay, good tea.
So you were on fire, and I have to say I was on fire as well because when I have somebody like-minded um, in my office, it's amazing the energy that just it's like refilling the gas tank. Like I said, only 10% of the world, from my angle, is of our mindset.
Mm,
So we can tire other people out with our energy because they're just like how did you just keep going and going and going and going. We don't require a lot of sleep,
mm,
whereas solopreneurs require much more sleep than an entrepreneur. So it's definitely a recharge. And I see a question right now where somebody says I need another call, Lori. I'm
that's Tiara.
That's Tiara. Tiara, I'm telling you, it's really, for as much as you need that other call, I need you to call as well because it recharges us both. So the students coming back, once they feel they're losing a little bit of momentum, is a wonderful thing. Ashley doesn't sleep or eat.
I don't.
She
I
only
don't.
needs she only needs about 4 or 5 hours sleep. When she's on fire, she only needs about 4 or 5 hours sleep to actually feel recharged. But then every so often, you're going to see her sleep for 10 hours.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like her body will tell her. but her mind is always, always spinning. So get that whiteboard in the apartment.
Actually, we have one, and we actually just talked about using it, so that's great. Um,
It's,
and I actually did have to come back to you because we set such high level plans the first go around,
uh-huh.
and I knew what my legacy was, and I knew sort of okay, I want to do this with the podcast, and I want to do this with the with the clothing line, and I want to do this with these businesses, and I sort of was able to say like high level, these are the things that I want to do, but after maybe a month or so after our call, I was just sort of like, ah, but how? And
yeah,
so we
it
can't,
was so high level.
yeah, it was high level, but also I think I was just in the moment, just so excited to finally be able, finally being able to sort of put a finger on what it was exactly that I wanted to do, right? Because I had gone to school for so long and I had, maybe I'll be a dentist, failed biology. Maybe I'll be a this, wasn't too interested. Maybe and nothing was really, burning inside of me. And I sort of had an idea what I wanted to do, but it wasn't necessarily what society or maybe my mom would necessarily agree with because I couldn't even vocalize what I wanted to do or say
Mm-hmm.
how I could even monetize what I wanted to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
after our conversation, I was able to do that on a high level, and I was super excited. Then I was like, okay, wait, we need to dial this back because how am I going to get all of these things in order? How am I going? How should I prioritize my list? Should I, the podcast is a thing and it's going. So should I keep going with this? Is it time to diversify and add in the clothing? Like what? How? Help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called Lori back, and we sort of just we broke it down again in sections on the whiteboard, and it has been so helpful, so
Yeah,
helpful.
smaller chunks, but not reducing the speed in which you're working. Because a lot of people slow down so much that they end up taking like a 3-year break.
Hmm.
That's not who we are.
Right.
We can actually take that 10-hour snooze and come back fully charged and watch out, which is scary for most people. I mean, if your parents are not at the same mindset as you,
Hmm.
they're going to tell you to slow down. You're going to crash. Slow down.
Right.
And then there's a lot of parents, you brought up a good point. There's a lot of parents out there that might be advocating for you to do something else in your life, something that they maybe envisioned for themselves,
Mm.
possibly.
Yep.
So I do get a lot of students where the parents they sit in on the session, and then what I do is I act as the translator. So when there is a student who's actually going down a path or has a learning style that is not a 4-year degree type of learning style,
Hmm.
I'm able to translate that in a way that the parents are not going to be disappointed, because we then formulate a plan that brings in a great income
Hmm.
with the passion that that student has. And then the bonus at the end of the 7 steps is the legacy. I mean, where does this come from? Step 7 is I ask the student to create from their heart what it is that they want to be remembered for. And some examples recently, and I printed out a couple I just want to share with you,
Sure. And I'm
is
trying to pull up mine.
yeah, for your legacy, please. We have one student who's 17 years old who wants to go into veterinary science. Well, there's a lot of people out there that say, I just want to be a vet because I love horses or I love dogs. What I do in the program is I take it and break it down even further. It's like, okay, why does
Hmm.
veterinary science interest you?
Right.
And I just ask the open-ended questions. For this particular student, she she was able to break it down to where she wanted to become an expert in horse physical therapy.
Hmm.
Now, that breaks it down away from the traditional veterinary science that gives shots to dogs and
Right.
maybe operation. But this particular student had an intention of opening up her own physical therapy practice for performance horses. So she was
Wow.
specific
Right.
so that's amazing for a parent to see this unfold to where they're not just sharing with their friends saying, yeah, my daughter's going to vet school.
Right.
She's breaking it down to where my daughter is going to vet school to focus on becoming a physical therapist for performance horses. And her legacy will be that she'll be remembered as a doctor that uses technology to advance the health of performance horses. That's her legacy.
That's amazing.
And technology advances, and she will follow it because she's a lifelong learner. She's
Right.
totally a lifelong learner. So that's just, one example. That's more on the science and technology side. Now we have a boy who's 20,
Mm-hmm.
and he's 20 years old and he's stuck. He's really stuck. He's like, okay, what am I supposed to be? Um, so make a long story short, his passion was woodworking. Well,
Woodworking. Okay.
woodworking, carpentry is it's a broad industry. So we narrowed it down together to where he has these visions of building these most unique staircases.
Hmm.
Now, I can't make this stuff up. I'm not the one telling him that he should become a staircase designer. He
Right.
is telling me what he has always been interested in since a young age. So he actually has the opportunity next week to interview with a stair master, I guess, a carpenter, to where
Wow.
he can learn the custom carpentry that he dreams of learning. And
That's
then
so
I was
cool.
able to find him a school that is 2 miles from his home that teaches like 3 month.
Like certification courses. Uh-oh. She froze.
He's made furniture.
Say it again. You froze. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So this boy is actually going to be making a piece of furniture every 3 months while he pays a small amount. The tuition's not nearly as expensive as university. And he's he's so excited. I mean, his
I'm
world.
excited for him.
Yeah, so his legacy, and I have to read this to you, is I want to be remembered for creating and building over 100 unique, beautiful staircases in the world.
Wow. Lori,
So,
I don't think, I know that if I would have had you prior to going to college, I would not have one, wasted everyone's time, money, and energy. I would have been able to know um, my passions and what I should study and or not study. Um, Man, I think you have such a gift. They're doing loud things outside. Sorry. You have such a gift, and you're able to work with people of all ages and all creeds. And um, that is a gift that you have. And I'm just so excited, one, that I was able to meet you when I did, because I don't know what I would be doing. But we discussed California, we discussed the move, we discussed jobs I would apply to, we discussed leveraging what I have to get me, like, we really and truly made a plan, and it didn't go as we originally thought, but here we are, and it's still sort of like a blueprint to
yeah,
follow.
COVID wasn't involved in the plan.
Mm-mm,
COVID
no.
was, what's funny you say that it doesn't go exactly to the plan, but what I'm finding is when some of the students have been derailed, mainly by parental involvement, believe it or not, because the parent didn't make the plan. It wasn't their plan. It was the student's plan. And sometimes the parent will take them off to the side and say, I think you should apply for this job because it's open, right? But if the job doesn't really align to the plan,
Mm-hmm.
what will happen is that student, what I'm seeing is the student doesn't do well in that derailment. They'll either be miserable in the job,
Yep.
or they might get fired from the job. So it's kind of like when you derail too much from the plan brings you back. if that makes sense. So I'm
Yeah.
very cautious as to what people write on that whiteboard or that flip chart paper because the chances that I'm seeing of it, coming through are very good. And it needs to feel right for me and it needs to feel right for the student. Not that the parent is not involved, they're more of a spectator.
Hmm. And I don't know
And
if you see this, but Tiara said that is suggesting a course for parents.
mhm. I think part of it is they probably already get it free by being a spectator because they definitely learn and they get to learn a little bit about themselves
Mm,
um, during the process. It's kind of a bonus and they just don't realize it until probably 6 to 12 months later when the parent is coming back saying, wow, I remember what was discussed and it's coming to be. So a special parent program? Absolutely. I mean, it could be informational session. I do work with adults, which happen to be parents. So
right.
it's kind of, yeah, I have to think about that.
That would be
I'm,
cool though. Because I
yeah,
think a lot of times the parents inadvertently project their fears onto their children,
I do.
or even just their desires for the child, right? And no
Yeah.
harm is meant, most times no harm is meant, but it could truly derail, like you said, the student from just truly discovering what their passion is. And I think that's something so special about your program. And it's oddly enough, when I was a little girl, I saw a commercial that said it was an anti-drug commercial, and everyone was saying all the positive things that they wanted to be, and the last person said like, no one says they want to be a junkie, and I was like, I'll be a junkie. So I'm happy that my mom derailed me from that.
Yeah, yeah.
From that. um, but yeah, I think I always wanted to do things that other people didn't want to do, and I think that sort of is a running joke between me and my mom, or my mom and I. But um, being
Well,
able to have the
you're a risk taker.
yes,
Mhm.
I would agree with you to a certain extent. I'm a calculated risk taker, I think.
Correct, correct. But like you brought up, a lot of parents have fear, and a lot of it is surrounding money.
Hmm.
Um, there's a huge amount of fear surrounding income. They believe that success is circled around your salary. So that's one of the lessons that I do teach in the program because we can actually tell from the testing results how much fear you have of money.
Hmm.
And because the people that have an extreme amount of fear tend to be the ones that, even if they had a very nice nest egg, it still wouldn't be enough.
Hmm.
So, and they're also the ones that want their children to have titles. They want them to have that master's degree or that doctorate degree. So there's an assumption, or yeah, an assumption that if you have that prefix, you will be successful monetarily. And, when we have this boy who wants to build 100 staircases, unique crafted that boy can be surpassing somebody who is a professor in a college with a doctorate degree,
For sure.
um, because he's offering something that is so unique. Craftsmanship and people will pay for that, for their castles and mansions or whatever that
For
they need.
sure. For sure. So I want to share the legacy. Um, oops, I lost it. The legacy on my number 7 for that 7-step career plan that I listed. So I said I want to be remembered for being a resilient visionary who fell down, got back up, and inspired/empowered others and created generational wealth. And I think I'm on the right path.
Absolutely, and you hit the key word, generational wealth. So you're an entrepreneur mindset. You are there to build something for somebody else to continue to enhance. And that's key. And, the generations after you, certainly, if they're doing their own thing, um, there's some personality types who will just take your wealth and not do the right things with it. So, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think by what you've learned, you will pass that learning on to other generations
For
so
sure.
that they always find their purpose, so that generational wealth, because I've seen a lot of generational wealth get used up very quickly,
Right.
and they're in the end they're not, they're not doing what their purpose, they didn't even identify what their purpose is.
Well, Lori, I just need you to stick around for until I have all my children so that I can send them to you so they can do the test and we're just going to keep this thing going.
Definitely.
Um, can you please share where people can find you, how they can take the test and set up sessions with you? Fun thing about what even before COVID you were doing the calls over the phone or FaceTime. So it's
Mhm.
something that people can still do right now. So please let them know how can they get in contact with you.
Yeah, the beauty of this is there's no excuses. Um, you know, Students ages 10 to 65 are invited to figure out what their career path looks like by creating 7 steps and ultimately creating a legacy that they can start living now. They can reach me through my website. It's workitcareers.com, and that's careers with an S. And and or they can email me at Lori, Lori, at workitcareers.com. And I can service students all around the world because of this virtual setting that technology has allowed us to have. And so far, we're almost 2,000 students strong in helping people identify their purpose, their plan, and their legacy. And it's amazing, Ashlee, how many people are already starting to embark on that legacy piece. Why do you need to wait till you're age 60 plus to live a legacy? Why can't you start living your legacy at 20 something? So creating those 7 steps and actually activating them sooner rather than later is going to allow you to see those beautiful gifts that you're giving the world. So I look forward to receiving more students all over the country, all over the world, and it takes 2 hours to figure this out. So what you described today took 2 hours to change your life
Yeah,
and to help guide you. And there is support available if there's any time that you get feel like your gas tank is getting low on gas. You
yeah,
can always reach back for a 1 hour, get back on track and, feel the energy of your future, because I'm all about the future and I
all
want
about
you
the
to be
future.
excited about your future.
Yes, so thank you again, Lori. One, for doing the show, and two, for helping me get my life together. I feel like we'll probably have another call in maybe next quarter,
Okay.
just to sort of like button up some things. But I'm forever grateful for Amina, who introduced me to you, and forever grateful for you for helping me sort this out. So I hope everyone gets a chance to experience the Lori. Everyone needs a Lori in their life. And
Mm.
thank you again. I hope you guys enjoy. And ultimately, I can't wait to tell my homegirl everything that we just talked about. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, and I can't thank you enough. And I will talk to you very soon.
Yes, thank you. Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye bye.